And we'll just get started. So Cal, if we could advance to the next slide, please. I'll open by acknowledging that we are joining you from the University of Calgary, which is located in southern Alberta on the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7, which include the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprised of the Siksika, the Piikani, the Kainai First Nations, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nations, and that the city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. So thanks everyone for joining. We've got a bit of a jam-packed agenda for you tonight. So we are going to give a bit of an introduction of the team, some of the folks you're going to hear from tonight and going forward. We'll talk about precision health, this exciting field and area that has drawn you here tonight. And then we'll go over what the Precision Health Graduate Program at the University of Calgary is all about. Try to give you as good a clear picture as we can about what the program experience is like, what the kinds of courses and hallmarks of the program are. And then you'll hear from some of the specific folks involved in delivering this program, because it's a real team effort, as you will see, a huge team effort for this program and all the different specializations and areas therein. We are going to try to keep it to roughly an hour so that we can allow for some time at the end to answer any questions. If you have any questions as the session is going on, please do feel free to just pop them into ideally the little Q&A chat. There is a little separate button. It's separate from the chat in the Zoom webinar here. If you pop it into the Q&A, then we will make sure we register it. We'll try to answer as we go in the Q&A if we can. But otherwise, we, as I said, are very happy to take any questions you have toward the end of the session. We won't leave you hanging, I promise. So. All right, so let me start by, as I said, introducing you to some of the broad team behind this program. So this is a multi-specialization program, which means that students enroll in one of 4 specializations. These are the 4 specializations right now, which we'll cover in much more detail as we go on. But I do want to make sure I introduce some of the folks who are in charge of these things. So we've got Jo Louise Huck joining us tonight. Perhaps, I don't know, Jo Louise, if you can unmute and just say hi, everyone can see you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight.
It's great. She'll be telling you about the innovation and entrepreneurship specialization. We have Kenna Kelly Turner. Kenna, I don't know if you can wave and say hi.
Hello.
Thanks. And who will talk about the health professions educational leadership arm. Ward Flemons, who I may be in his car still, so sorry, Ward. Maybe we'll jump over your wave until a bit later.
Sure, no problem.
We'll talk about the quality and safety leadership arm, and then I'll bring up with the precision medicine scheme at the end. If we can advance to the next slide. Yes, also want to acknowledge the other members of the team, Calvin Lack, who's here hosting this webinar session, as well as Lisa Fedorik, who's our experiential learning coordinator. We have Ali Kiani also here, our program administrator, who is your go-to person, certainly in the application process and can help you navigate all of those things, as well as Ivy Young, who you've already heard from, our program manager, are all here. So maybe in sequence, if you all can just say hi and wave.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. And with this, I will hand it over to Ivy to do this part.
So thanks again for joining us. We did want to start out with a quick icebreaker. So please go ahead and post your thoughts in chat. What words come to mind when you hear the term precision health? So no wrong answers here. Go ahead, let's have a little brainstorm session to start out. One of the things you'll learn about our program is that we really want to hear your voice. We know you bring a lot of experience, stories, and expertise. And so let's see what we've got here. Innovation, public health plans, efficient, absolutely. Targeted change, individualized, something that's tailor-made for the patient, absolutely. Any other thoughts out there? We know that, as you can see, there's many different terms and words that come to mind. So how about we unpack this a little bit more, and I'm going to pass the mic back to Dave to start with a little bit about precision health.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Ivy. And yeah, thanks for doing that, and everyone for sharing. It sounds like, yeah, folks are coming here with some really good notions and ideas about precision health already. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's a program that, if delivered well, efficiency is a key part, innovation is a key part, management, public health, the individualization or personalization of therapeutics and sort of clinical decision making is a key part of all of this. So yeah, thanks so much for joining that. And then, yes, Joshua, seeing your question, which you'll note is where we're going exactly next. So what is precision health? So precision health is a term that has definitely been emerging in the world, both in the sort of clinical space, in the academic space, and in the public space. And to be frank, it is something that isn't always terribly clearly defined. I always feel it's important to acknowledge that sometimes. But in general, what precision health is really talking about is sort of this new way of utilizing sort of the big data era. The fact that we can, at this stage, we're sort of entering the stage where we can gather so much information, more information about every individual person than has ever been possible in human history. And so precision health is really about leveraging all of that in order to better optimize sort of health and wellness decisions. And this could mean, clinical decisions in terms of like which drug or what dosage to prescribe to an individual, or whether to recommend, surgical therapy versus other options. Or it could be talking about other sort of preventative measures, things that we can do, just to be as well and as healthy as we possibly can. So, it's a somewhat broad definition in a way, but if we're going to try as much as we can today to really illustrate what this means in a sort of practical sense, because if precision health is to become a reality, we need to really be thinking practically. How do we deliver sort of specific things? I do want to emphasize, and I sort of like this figure as a way of highlighting, the concept of precision health more broadly. Genomics is often a key part, and it certainly is an aspect that is highly emphasized in the precision health world. And there is good reason for this, because of course, everyone's genome contains 6 billion pieces of information if you count every, nucleotide that someone inherits. And so of course it has sort of a major presence in how we can sort of individualize or come up with decisions and wellness therapies that are sort of best for each person. But it's really also about all these other sorts of factors. And I like sort of emphasizing all the other, dietary factors, lifestyle factors, things like where you live, all of these sorts of factors that together kind of intersect with, what you've inherited to create the person that you are, that phenotype, that, all of those emergent properties of this. And precision health really, I believe, should be taking all of these kinds of things into account if we're doing it well and we're doing it effectively. And that's very much a major emphasis of what we're trying to talk about here today. Cal, can we jump to the next slide, please? Okay, so what are some examples? As I mentioned, we don't want to just stay at the sort of high level. We want to get as practical as we can in sort of illustrating what this world is and where it can take things. So, this includes aspects of, as I mentioned, prevention. So this can include things like testing for either different genetic diseases, or could just be, vulnerabilities to certain types of health issues. It can include, wearable devices, things that can allow you to predict imminent sort of health events. Things like your heart monitor in an Apple Watch, for instance, is a big, exciting kind of technology there. As well as other kinds of omic type sequencing that can be used both within sort of individual people to track your genome, but also that can be used to track other sort of things like your microbiome, for instance, the bacteria living in conjunction with your cells, and as well as infectious diseases. We've certainly seen this through the COVID pandemic, the use of sequencing technologies in order to better sort of and more precisely intervene and make decisions about what we're going to do. It also, of course, then extends into the clinical realm when it comes to treatment decisions and diagnostic decisions as well. So identifying the right kind of biomarker tests, depending on what a person's condition may be, the use of genomic screening to better prescribe drug doses and things like that, as well as other kinds of sort of monitoring systems that are emerging and that can be used all together to ideally reach this point where we can provide these sort of very precise, targeted decision making. Okay, Cal, can we jump to the next slide, please? All right, so I like opening this session with this slide because this was actually the framework that we as a team developed several years ago and sort of worked through in order to guide the development of the program. And I like it because it sort of illustrates a lot of the key points that really sort of drove the program to become what it ultimately has. So much of the precision health world, of course, emerged around this integration between the academic and the clinical spaces. So many of these tools and technologies that we associate with precision health, things like genomic sequencing, things like AI and machine learning models and their development, they've been used in academic settings for a number of years. What's changing is the fact that their deployment or their availability and their economics have made them more clinically available. So more available to using in a setting where you're encountering patients and where you're working at scale with a population, as opposed to just in sort of the research setting. So what you'll see is, many of the folks involved in this program are really spanning these areas of being sort of academic or research oriented versus clinical oriented as well. So I like to sort of highlight that principle there. The other point I really want to highlight, as this is a principle we've tried very hard to maintain, is at the center of this so-called wheel here is the co-production of care. And I'll mention my colleague Ward Flemons here, who's been phenomenal in trying to keep us all honest on this principle. So the idea here with the co-production of care is that we really believe if precision health is to be effectively realized in the world, that this shouldn't just be a sort of top-down hierarchical delivery model, that this is something we really want to engage in a way that enables citizens to be part of its deployment, its development, and its emergence in the world. So as you'll see in many aspects of the program, we really have tried to include as much as possible sort of citizen voices, have citizen presence in what we do, and really use those sorts of personal sort of stories and directives as a key part of what we put together and what the experience of all of our students in the program really are. The other piece I'll just sort of highlight here, which is going to come up more and more as we go, you'll see on sort of the outer part of this wheel, we have precision medicine, quality and safety leadership, innovation and entrepreneurship, and health professions, educational leadership. And you'll note that these are the same titles that each of our program leads have. So these correspond to the 4 specializations that exist in the precision health program. Why are these the specializations we arrived at? Ultimately, the reason for this is we really believe that for precision health to become a reality in the health system and in our society, we shouldn't just be focusing on the kind of technological elements. We can and we will teach you about those elements, but it really needs to go beyond that. We should be thinking about how does their deployment and their use ultimately happen? How do we foster things like innovation, both within a health authority like Alberta Health Services and outside of that? How do we make decisions about safety management? How do we make economic decisions on when the benefit is worth the cost? And then what kinds of training requirements, educational requirements are frontline clinical staff going to require if these tools and technologies become increasingly common as we expect them to over the next 5 or 10 years? So maybe there, Cal, can we advance to the next? Okay, so that's a bit of the broad overview. As I said, if you have any questions, please do pop them in the Q&A and we will circle back to them as we go. Now, I do want to dig a little bit more into the specifics about the Precision Health Graduate Program and what this is all about. So this program is what is called a laddered graduate program, which means that as you progress through the program, you actually achieve not one and not two, but three full separate degrees as you go through. They build upon each other. So the entry point for the program is sort of at the bottom of this ladder, what you see labeled there, year one, the certificate. So for the certificate, there are the graduate certificate is 4 courses that run over the course of 10 months. We'll cover that more in detail in a moment. At the end of that first year, you can make a decision whether you want to progress immediately into the second year, pursue the diploma, whether you are happy with what you've learned in the certificate and you want to go on and use it in the world, and that's great, that's fine, or whether you want to pause for a year and then come back in. Each of those are options that are free for you. So our laddered program is really emphasizing a highly flexible sort of model of delivery and type of experience. At the end of the second year, you can move on into the master's level of the program. And again, at that point, you have the same flexibility, the ability to, take a pause, to exit, or to progress immediately on. It's really up to you. So what are some of the highlights of this program? One is that at this point, we can commit to a fully online accessible program. I was like being honest with everyone that our original vision included much online content, but also some in-person components. And the COVID pandemic forced us to adapt. And in fact, we ended up doing it and then realized that actually we can deliver it quite effectively in a fully online environment. That being said, we are running, and we do run several optional in-person events throughout the year. They're just not required. You can progress through the program effectively without attending, though most of our students, frankly, try to, as it's always nice to see people in human form, if at all possible. The schedule of the program runs between September and June. You can be assured that you will not have to attend any of our courses in July or August. So there is breaks and there are chances to take some time for yourselves. We are focused on delivering a program that is very focused on sort of practical applications, and with most of our students being in careers in which they are working full-time otherwise. So almost all of our courses, with a couple of exceptions that I'll mention in just a moment, are run via Zoom classes once a week in the evenings, usually around sort of 4:30 or 5 p.m. start, and then running through into the evening. We really, though, even within that, recognize that many of you may have careers that require sometimes being on call, and sometimes you have to miss a class or be late. We are absolutely committed to working with our students to make sure that you can get all the material you need and all of the learning experiences that you need to get through the program, because we do really want this to be something accessible to folks who are applying their skills in their career. Okay, so some other important highlights. You get a chance. Oh yeah, this works. So we do emphasize, as I mentioned, lots of networking opportunities. You see here a few photos from some of the in-person events, as well as some online networking events that we host through the year as well. So again, we're trying to make sure that we're as accessible as we can, that we give, even though this is an online program, you do get chances to really be connected with each other, to network with some of the other, frankly, phenomenal people who are in the program. And that, is really, frankly, one of the biggest highlights I can mention, is you meet some just incredible people coming into a program like this. Okay, Cal, can you jump one more slide, please? So I also want to highlight this is just a snapshot of some of our instructors. We have some truly phenomenal instructors in this program. I won't go through each of them because the list of their CVs would be just far too long. But what I'll put to all of you is, feel free, jot down some names, do some Google searches of some of the people involved. Really, impressive accomplishments, things that some of these folks have been involved in. And really like to highlight some of the people that you'll meet in this program. Okay, Cal, one more slide, I think. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is a multi-specialization program. I think there's an animation here, Cal, if you can just maybe click 3 or 4 to get the, So as I mentioned, precision health is sort of this big concept, right? All around generally this idea of leveraging this sort of big data era toward optimal sort of health and wellness decision making. We've picked these sort of 4 spheres to kind of emphasize. You'll hear about the precision medicine space. That's sort of the one that is most sort of technologically focused, where we focus the most on the kinds of molecular tools and computational tools that we can use. But we're also thinking about this under the aegis of quality and safety leadership, which is really its own field, of course, right? This isn't a field that is unique to precision health, though I do think it's really, really critical to be thinking at a systems level about how we, make data-driven decision-making on what tools to use and under what circumstances, and how do we assess those sorts of quality and safety factors in those sorts of roles. The health professions education leadership. Education is a key aspect of any kind of change, right? Especially in a field as complex as healthcare. And so what are the what are the needs that educators will have to fill as precision health kind of becomes the reality? And then finally, the innovation and entrepreneurship arm. We're talking about many disruptive tools, disruptive ideas and approaches, and things like that. And so we have a whole arm sort of dedicated to concepts around innovation and entrepreneurship and how you bring new ideas, new innovative ideas into a reality within the system. And can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so this is another snapshot of the program as a whole, organized now from the top down. So I guess we flipped the ladder a little bit. And the way to look at this chart is we have the specializations sort of ranged across the top: precision medicine, quality and safety leadership, health professions education leadership, and innovation and entrepreneurship. And then sort of the time of progression as you think of it as going from the top to the bottom. So in the first year, you have those 4 courses for the certificate. You start out with MDPR 600, the Foundations of Precision Health course, which is the one I'm really emphasizing in particular because of the fact that it is a required course for every specialization. So this is at the entry point to the program, and everyone comes in together. So this is a great spot. We have lots of chances for people to kind of get connected with each other. And what we've seen with the program, with the students in the program so far, is that many of them have established connections in this course that they've sustained throughout as they've progressed the rest of the way through. That course is scheduled as a so-called block week course. So this means that it is a very intensive 1 week, Monday to Friday, starting at 9 o'clock, ending at 4:30, with lots of breaks and lots of dynamics. It's not just us lecturing at you, I promise. But I do mention this because this is something, of course, you have to plan for. So you do need to be able to take that 1 week of time, which is at the very end of August. We'll show more specifics about that. Or I think Ivy's already shared this, actually. It's in the document that Ivy shared in the chat there. That this is something you have to plan for. After that course, for the remainder of the certificate year, each of the remaining courses is delivered no more than once a week for 10 weeks, either in the fall or the winter or the spring. So stretching from end of September, basically to the end of June. And at that point, the courses start to vary depending on the specialization. So as you read through this, if you enroll in the precision medicine specialization on the left, you can see you take the ethics and law and precision health course in the fall. And then you take the omics applications to clinical care in the winter. And then you have some choices in the term that follows. So I won't go through each of these progressions because the other leads will give you a chance to sort of hear more about those details in just a few minutes. But that's kind of how to look through this. In the diploma year, do note that you will all come together again with several shared courses: health systems leadership and managing complex projects in healthcare. There is again a block week course in the second year, but this happens in the winter, so in January rather than September. But the same idea, you only have 1 week where you need to really plan your schedule intensively. The remainder is delivered in this sort of once a week online format for the most parts. At the master's level, we then have a significant component of so-called experiential learning. And this is perhaps something I'll invite Lisa, who is our experiential learning coordinator. Lisa, do you mind just jumping in quickly and giving a quick description of what that master's level is all about?
For sure, and I'll give you a break, Dave, from talking. Well, thanks so much for handing it over. Our master's degree definitely is where we put everything together. So that is where you start to implement those skills, knowledge, and the abilities from the diploma as well as from the certificate. So the beginning of the master's encompasses about a 10-week course within your own streams. That's called your advanced specialization course. That is what is going to prepare you further for the bigger component of the master's, which is MDPR 681. That is the experiential learning course that you can see. It's in white again. Everybody engages in at the same time. So the experiential learning course will typically last between 7.5 to 8 months. And again, the biggest component of the master's degree, whereby you will be working with either an academic or a community partner. So typically in the diploma year, what we start to do is prompt students to start to explore and prospect potential partners that they feel they would be a good fit working in a master's project with that particular person or in that team. What will happen is you'll spend about 150 to 200 hours of what we call in the field practice or work integrated learning. And then that community partner does act as your mentor or your supervisor, but you're not left out in the cold at all. You will also have an academic supervisor within the university or affiliated with the University of Calgary to support you throughout. And as a secondary support, throughout your EL placement, you'll also be meeting with your peers every probably 2 to 3 weeks in what we call a community of practice. And that is really a time where we talk about what's working for us, where we see some challenges. We'll talk about what are relevant topics within careers, within that integrated working space. Now, throughout the EL learning practicums or placements, you will also be completing different assessments. And those assessments really are more critical reflection assessments, putting together your plans, how you're implementing your projects. And then at the very end of June, when we're almost complete, what we are doing is meeting as a group, either online, face-to-face, in sort of a pseudo conference, precision health conference, where you will actually implement a presentation to your peers and to your supervisors. So just quickly, what we have by way of partners, it's varied across the spectrum because we have such diversity of students and of course diversity of streams. So one example of a major partner that we have many students working with is within Alberta Health's services in different strategic clinical networks. Some of the projects students are working on are looking at efficacy and efficiency of MRI testing, pharmacogenetic testing. We also have a number of new startups within the healthcare space. Some of those projects students will be working on is new technology in wound care, wearable devices, and that sort of idea. Then we do have a number of students staying sort of within the realm of academia. So working with some of our internal partners, working on research projects, clinical trials, doing things like data collection, data analysis, writing up and co-authoring papers. So there are a lot of different and almost customized placements that students will definitely be very interested in working with. Those partners, as well as coming back to explain what the outcomes of their learning is. So that in a nutshell is the master's, and we're really happy to get that rolling out this fall 2023. So that being said, I will pass it back over to Dave for next slide.
Thanks so much, Lisa. Thanks for sharing that. And yes, any questions? I saw a few questions come up already. Please keep them coming. That's great. Okay, before I hand it over to the other program leads, I do just want to mention that, you know, much of what we have been trying to do in developing this program is really maintain this emphasis on, as I said, really practical skills, things that you can use in the field to build your career, to augment your career, to, you know, to use in very sort of transferable ways, I guess is the way I might say it. So, you know, I won't run through the whole list here, but things like, you know, how do you make data informed decision making? How do you approach that, right? You know, get you some experiences working with partners, working in that kind of collaborative way to build something new or to deliver on a project. You know, how can you manage change? I mean, precision health changes everywhere in this field. And so it's a really fundamental aspect. Note that, you know, all of these things we're presenting very much under the aegis of precision health, but they're very transferable, right? They apply in all sorts of ways, especially in healthcare. And so, yeah, you will get your hands dirty in this program. That's one thing I can guarantee, that every course we do, everything we deliver, we try to make it as sort of practical and directed as possible. And with that, Cal, can we jump to the next slide, please? Yes, we will go into the program specializations, which is when I stop talking and it gets better for everyone. So if we can jump next, I will hand it over to the inimitable Ward Flemons to talk a little bit more about quality and safety leadership.
Great, thanks, Dave. I'm not sure if either you or Cal can approve my video. Right now, it's not letting me turn it on myself, but while you're working on that, I'll work on telling people a little bit about this this stream. So this is about understanding systems of care rather than the real details under precision medicine. But as you will see, it all actually connects, because at the end of the day, whatever we do for patients, we're doing up for individual patients, but that builds up into systems of care that we're working on. So this is about understanding measurement, analyzing that for the sake of continually improving the delivery of care, and also understanding why sometimes healthcare systems don't do the right thing because of the complexity of the care that we provide. So if we could go to the next slide, and I thought I would just show you a quick example of some of the things that we look at. This is a 2-minute trailer. I'll just set this up. This is a 2-minute trailer. It comes from a 30-minute film about the journey of Greg Price, who is a 30-year-old young man who is completely healthy, ended up having some healthcare problems that came up unexpectedly. And Greg struggled in his journey. He's a young man who is from a small town outside of Calgary, about an hour and a half or hour outside north and east of Calgary, and working with his family to try to get through his journey. And unfortunately, it was not successful for Greg. So this is a film that we made, and this is a 2-minute trailer from that film, but it just sort of highlights some of the issues that we're interested in exploring to figure out why do systems sometimes break, and if we can understand why they break, how we might be able to then fix them so that they are more robust for the future. So if we could go ahead and try this film, Cal, that would be great.
So what is it?
Not sure. We'll do a culture, urine, and blood test just to be safe. If there's a concern, I'll call you, or if you notice a change, come back in.
Okay.
If you don't hear from me, then the results are normal.
No news is good news.
Exactly.
We'll call you when he has an opening in his schedule.
Come here.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, it didn't look fine.
I'm gonna speak with your referring doctor directly, but I want to let you know what we found.
Okay. Sounds serious. So no one's contacted me because it's not urgent?
I don't know.
So I'll refer you to a urologist. He's very good, very experienced. We'll fax it over today. I would hope you'd have an appointment in the next couple of days.
Are you serious? He's away for 2 more weeks? Okay, no. No, look, I have to see someone else then.
Didn't anybody discuss this with you?
No. I figured the way it was getting bounced around there, I just should look at it on my own.
That mass in your abdomen is very concerning. I don't understand why it's taken this long to get dealt with.
All right, this is just a blip in the road. I just need to start the chemo. I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine.
Great, thanks, Cal. So,
And Ward, maybe I'll jump in here just to let you know, you should be able to turn your camera on if you want everyone
okay,
to see you.
I will. All right, there we go. Perfect, hopefully that works. So the Price family I've worked with them for 10 years now, telling Greg's story. They've worked tirelessly. They were behind getting this film made. And they're just one example of why we feel so strongly that this specialization and this whole program needs to engage with patients and families at the outset, and all the way from thinking about how to build this system as well as how to deliver the care to each individual patient. So that's why co-production of this concept is such a fundamental part of this course. In the quality and safety stream, though, you'd be looking at things like if healthcare breaks, how should the system respond, both to look after the patients and families, but also the healthcare providers, and then how to improve the system so it's more robust for future people. In the quality management course, we break down how systems improve. We show you models, and if we go to the next slide, we've based this off of a framework that we developed for the Health Quality Council of Alberta. And in the first year, when you do this stream, as Dave mentioned, all students would do the Foundations of Precision Health course, and then in the fall you do the Ethics and Law course, and then in the winter session you do Quality Management, and in the spring you would do Safety Management. So both of these latter two courses are built off of frameworks that were developed for the Health Quality Council of Alberta about 5 years ago. And if we go to the next slide, the first framework is called the system design model. So it takes the students work through these 5 phases of how a system continually improves itself in order to make care more efficient, more effective, safer. And we teach people about the domains of safety, and then this framework, and we work through a case study, and then students do their own very small quality improvement project. In the safety management course, we follow the other framework from the Health Quality Council called the harm response model. And a lot of that material is in this book called Fatal Solution, a book that I wrote with a couple of my colleagues about another unfortunate case that happened about 15 to 12, actually almost 20 years ago now. And the book focuses on how to look at that and how to focus on culture in an organization in order to improve the care that we deliver. So next slide. So I'll turn things over to Kenna, and I'll just say, you know, if people are interested in understanding systems and figuring out where precision medicine fits into the overall delivery of healthcare, then we look forward to working with you in the quality and safety leadership stream.
Thanks, Ward. So I'm Kenna Kelly-Turner. This is the Health Professions Educational Leadership Stream overview for you. As it says there, we're looking at preparing leaders for the ever-changing world of health education with an evidence-based approach to curriculum design, delivery, implementation, and evaluation. But that doesn't necessarily mean much if you haven't explored that world before. So one of the things that I'll tell you to begin with is that the amazing learners in this stream include those who are already in practice across a variety of clinical disciplines. So physicians in a wide variety of specialties, nurses, veterinarians, therapists, health scientists, as well as educators who are looking to expand their expertise to include work in health professions. So if that sounds a bit like you, this might be the stream for you. And then if we can go to the next slide, we'll just look at an overview of the. Perfect, thank you. So this is the certificate year. So like everyone else, students in this stream will take the foundations of precision health. And I run a couple of sessions in there on how we work and learn in teams and what health professions education is. And then in the fall, you take health professional teaching and learning, and that's with Dr. Silkader. And so we explore a variety of sort of key foundational elements to teaching and learning in health professions. Then you move on in winter to curriculum design and stewardship. And then at the spring part of the session, you move on to adaptive health education leadership. So in our stream, we believe that by focusing on the skills and tools to lead educational change in health professions, you'll leave the program ready to implement curricula for the needs of today, as well as the innovations of tomorrow. So today, we're intent on overseeing the implementation of education initiatives for precision health. In 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you may be targeting a completely different initiative, but because of your experience in these courses, you'll be prepared. And so part of that preparation, there are a few unique elements of the program that we think are particularly exciting. So one piece is the nitty-gritty. You'll work through real examples developed by experienced education leaders rather than focusing on educational leadership theory in the abstract. Flexibility. So we recognize that curriculum change is never done, especially in the health professions. And so we'll help you to become both comfortable and successful in those ever-changing environments. And then what we sort of call accreditation school is that winter course there. And so you may already know that quality assurance processes are inevitable in health professions education and in any career you're likely to pursue after completing this stream. But we'll arm you with everything you need to successfully lead these processes. And that's what we call accreditation school. And as far as we can tell, it's wholly unique in the Canadian health education landscape. And then if we want to move on, I want to give you a precise example on the next slide of just how this links up with precision health, because people may still have questions about that. So you'll see there a picture of an MRI. And so I want to do a sort of mini case with you about MRI waitlists. So magnetic resonance imaging is an important tool in personalized medicine, which is an early version of what we now call precision medicine. And so MRIs are an interesting case that featured in headlines less than a month ago because Alberta patients were forced to pay out of pocket for diagnostic services that are supposed to be free. And it was thought that this was partially a result of long wait times. So MRI technology was invented in the 1970s and became increasingly available in Canada in the 1990s and then tripled in availability in the last decade. But now we're here in 2023 and we have these long wait times and many requisitions where situations are not appropriate for MRI. So this means that those patients whose care does depend on MRI findings experience delays. And all of this in spite of the fact that there have been clear guidelines for decades about when it's appropriate to order MRIs and when it isn't. And so that's where educational leadership comes in. Health professionals need to know when to use precision health technologies and when not to. And leaders of health professions education need to build this into the curriculum from the start, not as an add-on. And they need to plan for educational interventions from inevitable advances in technology. Otherwise, we have unsustainable health systems and people who need precision health techniques will be delayed in receiving care, which is exactly what we see happening with MRIs. and they've been around for a really long time. So that's just an example of the kind of thing that you might want to work on in our stream. But some of the other cool questions that we get into are, how does information become retrievable memory? How does education keep pace with a rapidly changing world? What turns educational leaders into change makers? This specialization offers learners best practices and evidence-based strategies that facilitate adaptive health education leadership. And so if that sounds like something that interests you, and that's where you get excited and that's where you get your energy from, is that kind of educational leadership work, then this might be the space for you. So we hope that you will join us in HPEL. And then I'll just hand it over with the next slide. Perfect. So I'll hand it over to Jo Louise.
Super. Thanks, Kenna. So hi, everybody. I'm Jo Louise Huck, and I'm really excited to share information about the Innovation and Entrepreneurship specialization. So the whole vision for this specialization is to really help make change happen and engage with the challenge of how we individually and together can develop and implement viable precision health innovations to improve patient care, improve health and wellness, and improve our health systems. And so you might be asking, why might people be who are interested in precision health also be interested in entrepreneurship and innovation? And why is it really vital that this specialization be embedded within the Cumming School of Medicine Precision Health program, as opposed to, for example, a business school? Just so you know, I'm cross-appointed to Community Health Sciences, which is part of the Cumming School of Medicine, and Haskayne School of Business. And we really think this is quite unique to our program to have this specialization that was developed by people from both schools. So let me tell you a little bit more about this. Next slide, please. And I'm going to start with a story. What you see on this slide is a formula for penicillin and a picture of Alexander Fleming, the individual who we associate with the discovery of penicillin. And if you have not read this story, The Discovery of Penicillin, I would encourage you to read it. It's a really wonderful story about human ingenuity, serendipity, and getting ideas into practice. But I'll give you a short summary here. So around September 1928, Alexander Fleming took a vacation from his lab where he and his team were studying bacterial development and growth. When he came back from vacation, he noticed one of the cultures made with the bacteria the team was studying was not properly sealed, and mold from outside had contaminated the sample. Because of that, the bacteria had started dying around that mold. Alexander Fleming and his team recognized there was something to this mold that was killing or not allowing bacteria to grow. He continued his research and with colleagues published the study in 1929, appealing to the biology community to pay attention to these interesting findings. This is the story of the discovery of penicillin. A little bit of serendipity, some smart people, some thinking, some bench research, publications that got people moving. We know penicillin changed the way we do medicine, and it changed health in the 20th century. But there's another aspect to this story that we don't often hear about, and that is that it actually took over 16 years from the original discovery of penicillin to when penicillin started to be mass-produced and used in clinical practice, from the idea that an idea moved into innovation or actual in use in practice. It took 16 years to persuade chemical companies, pharma companies, government, other scientists that there was something in the discovery of penicillin that was worth paying attention to, worth taking from the bench to use in healthcare. It took 16 years to build a lot of evidence to support that, 16 years to see innovation and change happening in practice. Now, today, we know the importance of innovation, moving ideas from bench to practice, and entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial thinking in advancing change. And innovators and entrepreneurs are the change agents of our world, in healthcare and in other fields. And not just in relation to starting companies and organizations, that's one route, but in relation to moving viable evidence-informed ideas into inventions and then into everyday innovation and change. Scientists and other entrepreneurial thinkers and innovators, when they are entrepreneurial thinkers and innovators, when they actively encourage the movement of ideas into innovations that change how things are done in the real world. Today, precision health is where penicillin was in 1928. We know it works, we know there's something there, but the potential of precision health ideas have not yet broadly been moved into innovations that will change health and healthcare. That's what the INE specialization is all about, or innovation entrepreneurship. So next slide, please. So what is this specialization about? What we're really interested in doing is helping students learn how to become these agents of change Through this specialization, students learn how to think entrepreneurially, to notice problems and opportunities, and develop those sustainable precision health solutions that can affect change. They learn about starting new ventures, social enterprises, nonprofits, for-profit organizations with a precision health mandate. They also learn how to test and implement innovations with public healthcare systems and how to work with companies and other ecosystem members to do so. These are all skills that are increasingly needed in our healthcare world today. Next slide, please. So at the certificate level, this is what it actually looks like. The I&E specialization involves completing 3 courses in addition to the foundations course that others have mentioned previously. So in entrepreneurial thinking and innovation and precision health, we explore how to notice problems in the healthcare system and how to solve these problems using innovation and true precision health. In sustainable business cases for precision health innovation, we address a really important gap. And actually what we've noticed is that there are a lot of potential change agents in healthcare. Healthcare professionals and scientists are actually really, really good at coming up with new ideas. However, when these potential change agents try to pitch the ideas to investors or public health care systems, health administrators, very often these new ideas are not supported. So in this class, we explore how to create business cases and how to do health technology assessments in such a way that important evidence-based ideas are recognized, supported, and ultimately funded to be advanced. So after these 2 compulsory courses, we have 2 elective courses. One of the courses is implementing innovations in precision health, which is all about how to manage innovative projects in and with the public health systems. And we have a second course that'll be ready for next year, spring 2024. And this is really going to be managing technology development. It's a technology-focused course about how to make sure that innovation development teams are working together effectively to develop new technologies. So this innovation entrepreneurship specialization is really important to the precision health program and to advancing precision health because it really teaches critical entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial thinking, and innovation capabilities and skills within the health and medical context, which would be something that would be more difficult to achieve if these types of courses were offered outside of a medical school or a school focused on health. So if anything I have described here today, I'm going to follow other people's leads here. I'm pitching this stream to you, appeals to you, and you're interested to learn more about entrepreneurial thinking and about how we can advance innovation from inside the system and with other partners and companies, we would really encourage you to consider joining the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Specialization and become those change agents that advance novel precision health solutions. And so with that, I will turn back over to Dave, I think.
It is. Thanks so much, Jo Louise, and perfect segue. So as you've just heard about all those other aspects of the program and all the ways in which precision health can be engaged in and then all the needs that it really has. I'm now going to talk a little bit about the precision medicine specialization. And this, of all the specializations is the one that is probably most sort of, encompassed in the precision health world in that here we're really focusing on, the technologies that define precision health and in particular, how it is that those technologies can be used in clinical and health decision-making. So decision-making could include, preventive measures, it could include diagnoses, and it could include treatment decisions. All of these sorts of aspects are part of this. Cal, can we jump to the next slide, please? So the certificate for the precision health specialization or precision medicine specialization, looks like this. So again, we have the shared course in block week. We have the ethics and law course in the fall. We have our omics applications to clinical practice course in the winter, where we start digging much more deeply into some of the key technologies like genomic sequencing. Genomics is definitely a major part of this course, as is appropriate to the current state of the field. Now, important to recognize is this is a very fast-moving field. There are lots of new tools and new applications of similar kinds of tools. It's amazing all of the ways that you can use gene sequencing tools that go outside of genetics, which is part of the subject that we talk about. But this is where you really start digging into the details, and not just the details of how these technologies work, but how they manifest in a clinically relevant way. So how it is that if you have a patient or you have someone manifesting with certain certain things, certain phenotypes, how it is you can use these tools to benefit them. From there, we go into the spring term, and here you have a certain number of choices. So we have a course specifically focused on pharmacogenomics, which I'll mention a bit more about pharmacogenomics in a moment. Course focused on precision oncology, so they're very specifically on cancer care. I mention that in particular because oncology has been at the vanguard of precision health. In fact, I would argue that as in all of the specialties in the medical field, oncology has really seen probably the biggest, most dramatic shifts already happening to make precision health kind of standards of care there. So a lot of really sort of exciting developments in that space that we cover in that course. And then finally, we have a course on AI applications in precision health. So we talk about what artificial intelligence applications are, how we define what those are, and then we focus on many of the more common kinds of use of those types of applications, the development of machine learning classifier models, for example, and things of that nature, and the ways that those can be built. And you'll actually learn details about how it is you can, lead a machine learning project, what kinds of data you need, what you need to be thinking about in order to do that effectively. Can I jump to the next slide, please? So just to give a very specific example, as I mentioned, I like to get as specific as we can. So in the pharmacogenomics area, here we have a case where we're really basically using genomic markers to guide very specific clinical decisions around which drugs to prescribe, and more than that, the amount of a drug to prescribe. So to be just a bit more specific about that, what we know is there are now several hundred well-validated, not just experimental, but very well-validated genetic markers that influence the way in which drugs are metabolized. This is true for very common drugs like pain medications, things like antidepressants, antipsychotics, lots of other types of drugs, antibiotics. And we can screen for these in a relatively cost-effective way, such that we can identify someone before giving them the drug as being a potential rapid metabolizer, suggesting that we may need to prescribe a larger dose because it's going to be metabolized more quickly. Or they may be a poor metabolizer. It may be that actually we should keep the dose light because if we give them the standard average dose, they may manifest with a negative drug interaction. Or it may be that actually they need a different drug. It may be that the actual drug that you might normally give to sort of the average person is not appropriate to this person. I like this example because it really manifests all those key aspects of precision medicine, right? This idea that we are not treating people as the average, that we're using these tools, we're using these data to identify the things that make them not average and to highlight those cases where actually, if we customize our approach, we're going to get a better outcome. And adverse drug reactions are a really big deal. They harm a lot of people every year. And so being able to deploy this kind of tool and to be able to use it in sort of frontline clinical practice is really valuable. And so this just gives a key example, I guess, of one of the types of applications that we cover in this part of the program. Cal, can we jump to the next slide, please? And I will throw it back to Ivy because I think we have a few poll questions we're going to do.
Yeah, I've launched the poll, so we'd love to get your thoughts and your feedback this far. But why don't we go ahead to the next slide while you're filling out the poll and we can take a look at the admission requirements. So Ali, go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Ali Kiani. I'm the GPA for the Precision Health program. So minimum education we do require for the admission application for the Precision Health is a bachelor's degree with the minimum of 3.3 GPA. And then the required documents are your CV, vision statements, and you can upload your unofficial transcripts. But for the official transcripts, we do require your institutions to send directly to the University of Calgary by August 28 before starting your program. And then also we do require ELP for the international students who the first language is not English. So if you have any questions regarding the admission requirements, you can just shoot me email with the Precision Health program. We can meet online on Zoom or in person if you are in Calgary. And then if you would like to meet with any of our leads, Dr. David Anderson, Kenna, Joe Louise, or Dr. Flemons, I can arrange this meeting for you, and you can, familiarize yourself more with the Precision Health, and then find out which specializations is fit for you. So I think if you have any questions, I'm in the background, I can answer to those questions.
Thanks, Ali. I'll also just maybe mention to everyone too that, we deliberately kept the requirements to apply relatively general. As you can see from the program, we have, in the different specializations, I'm sure you all can imagine, we have a wide variety of students, frankly, who've been coming in the program. And that's been one of the really fun and exciting things about this program too. We've had a lot of people with different backgrounds coming in with different interests. And so because of that, we really wanted to keep that minimum requirement to apply general. We do, though, we ask for your CV, so we have an idea of what experiences you're bringing, what you've done in the past, where you're coming from, and as well as that vision statement, which is really something we've really found incredibly valuable. Really what we're asking for you to tell us there is to give us a picture about where you see precision health, being something you can contribute to or be a part of, right? What's the vision for your future that you see this being, part of and facilitating? And so, yeah, so those aspects are what we're looking at there. We do have a couple of deadlines. So we have what we call the early bird deadline coming up on April 15th. I'll just say that what does that early bird deadline mean? It really just means that if you apply by April 15th, that's your best chance of getting in the program as a whole. So that's when we start evaluating applicants. We do keep the application portal open through till the end of May. So if you can't make April 15th, that's fine. You submit your application when you can. Between April 15th and basically into June, we go through applications as they come in until we've had enough people accept that we say, okay, that, we got to be careful here. We don't have too many people. And so even though we don't have a hard limit in terms of the class sizes, if you want sort of your best shot of getting in the program, it's good to get that application in by that earlier deadline. And yeah, otherwise I'll just reiterate what Ali already shared. I know for all of us as the leads, we really have valued being able to connect with potential students, people who are interested in the program as well. We're happy to follow up with you if you have any questions that occur to you after this session is done. Please do just reach out to the Precision Health email, which Ivy's just put in the chat there as well. And we're happy to sort of put something together and follow up. Okay. I think that takes us to the end of our presentation with just 4 minutes over, which is actually pretty good. So yeah, from here we'll linger on. If you have any questions, please feel free, pop them in the chat. We'll either answer them verbally or by typing. And otherwise, thank you so much again for your time, for giving us your time this evening to learn more about the program. And yeah, we hope to hear from you soon.
Feel free to raise your hand if you have a question. And thank you again so much for joining us. We look forward to hopefully seeing you in the fall. Please do reach out if you have any questions.
Oh, I see the question about the recording. Yes, we will post this recording. Actually, Cal, maybe I'll let you answer this because you know it better than me.
Yeah, we'll post this on YouTube and we'll send it out to students who've registered to the session as well. So you'll get it in a couple days probably.
That's great, thanks. Oh, and Joshua Lowe, I see your question and I forgot to go into this. Thank you for prompting me on this. So yes, there are some opportunities for cross-specialization electives in the diploma year in particular. It does vary depending on the specialization. So if you are coming through in the precision medicine specialization, you have a chance to take 2 electives. Either you can take one of the other choices that we have in that spring term. So suppose you took pharmacogenomics, but you'd also really like to take the AI course, you have a chance to do that. Or you can cross sample from the other specializations. If if you're coming through and you'd like to take that sustainable business cases course that Joe Louise was mentioning, then yep, you have a chance to basically do that as well. You also can, I will mention this, some students do choose to use a course from outside the core of the Precision Health program. It's a little bit complicated. You do have to get permission and things like this, but that is a potential option. If you are interested in pursuing it, we can follow up about that and help facilitate that. But we have had 1 or 2 students cross-pollinate with the data science program, for example, as an option as well. In terms of limitations, if within the program, there's no limitations. If it's outside of the program, we have to approve it. We'd want it to make sense. I don't know, if you're taking like fine art or something, I probably would say no. But if it's, as long as it makes sense with what the precision health degree is all about, then that's fine. Ali, do you want to speak to the question about when the official transcript deadline is? I know we're supposed to get it before the start of the first course. Is that right?
Yes, as I said, the official transcript should be in by August 28th, before the official, like our class. But if you have any issues, you can just contact with me. We can discuss about the next step. We can put hold on it if you want to have like 1 more semester time, like by end of December, but you just contact with me if you have any issues on this. And
Daniel, I'm seeing your question as well. So yeah, with the example of the data science program, so in that case, we have the Masters of Data Science and Analytics program at University of Calgary as well. We had essentially 1 student who came through the AI applications course. And in that course, we do have all of our students basically engaging in developing, in creating machine learning models using real, Python code. You don't have to have previously coded anything. We take you through it, but it does, you get a chance to really do it. And so, yeah, we had 1 student who got that experience and got their feet wet, so to speak, and got really excited and they wanted to do more. And so, the data science program has sort of follow-up courses that kind of naturally extended from that. And so we coordinated with that program's coordinator, showed them what we'd been teaching and what the student had done and what they're trying to do. And so they approved for her to drop in and take a specific course from that program, and they apply the credit for that course to this degree, is how it ultimately plays out. So they're still getting the precision health degree, specializing in precision medicine in that case. And they just, they kind of grabbed this 1 course to use for one of their electives, basically. If you have any other questions, please do feel free to pop them in. If you want to log off and go have dinner and whatever, that's also fine. Please do. Thank you for coming again. And if you have any questions that come up afterward, in 2 days and you suddenly think of something, please do feel free to reach out. We're always interested in hearing from you and hearing the kinds of questions that come up. Frankly, we learn a lot from the questions you ask. So we really appreciate it as well. And yes, thank you again, everyone, so much for coming.